This is the visionary Von Vertigo, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hi, this is the Princess of Perfection, Savannah Summers, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
What's up, y'all? This is the girl from Ocean Avenue, Kennedy Copeland, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is the Queen of Voodoo, Mama Shango, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is the Golden Grappler, Travis Huckabee, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is yours truly, the Hardcore Princess Jules Malone, and today you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey, this is Max Zaleski here from Without a Cause, whack, baby, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is Conrad Cushman from Everything Pro Wrestling, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers on Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code WrestlingWithE for 10% off your next purchase. I am, of course, your host, James Shea, alongside Kaliko Yachts.
What up, y'all? What concert costs only 45 cents? 50 Cent featuring Nickelback. Bam!
Wow, that was probably the best dad joke we've had on the show. That being said, Scooter Dust.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm what the hell was on Joey's head.
And it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the owner of Without a Cause Wrestling, Max Zaleski. Where are you, Max?
Hey, I'm doing pretty damn well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Doing great. Pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. And can you tell us what's coming up for yourself and Without a Cause?
So currently, due to the COVID pandemic, Washington State has been a little bit behind the times in terms of regulations and opening up. We're not as open as Texas or Florida or a lot of other places. There is a lot of good news coming our way. However, we don't have any shows currently ready or tickets ready to buy. However, you can always follow us at Without a Cause WA. That is Without a Cause Washington WA on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I also live stream on Twitch, Max Wrestling WA on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. We will be dropping some news regarding our return to wrestling here probably in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I would assume.
All right. And all of those links will be in the description of the video, both below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Now, can you tell us about your promotion and maybe how you started it?
Without a Cause started after I became injured. I was training to become a wrestler. I debuted, and then the same night I tore my ACL.
Ouch.
And I didn't want to go get it fixed. It was just too expensive, and I didn't really want to put, my wife through that or anything. So I decided I wouldn't get it fixed. I'd just kind of live with it, and that's pretty common for people who don't make their money off of being a sports entertainer or an athlete or an actor or whatever. So I was in the shower one day, and I'm like, you know what? I got to be in wrestling somehow. So I figured, I want to run a show. I want to run a show without a reason, without a cause. And that's kind of where the name came from. I was already in the business, quote unquote, for about 3 or 4 years at that time, doing local stuff with the now defunct 3-1 Battle. I've worked with Defy Wrestling. I've worked with PCW Ultra down in California. I've, if it's wrestling in Washington, I've had some part of it over the last 5 years. So we just got together with other people that were in the business, some good friends of mine, Chris Ross and Dave Turner, both wrestlers, both trainers. And we hit the ground running on October 21st, 2018, and have had 14 shows, maybe 15. I don't remember because it's been so long since our last one, So we run out of Everett, Washington, which is about 20 minutes north of Seattle, 45 minutes on a bad day, and an hour away on a really bad day. So we're close enough to Seattle without being Seattle. Everett and the area is also home to WWE's Dan O'Brien, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Spanky from WWE, Brian Kendrick. He's from Olympia, which is our capital. So a lot of good wrestling from out here, but not a hotbed yet, and that's what we're trying to fix.
Let's hear that you've had almost 20. You're at 19.
If you're looking at Cage Match, they don't look at the ones that have been canceled, or they still showcase the ones that were canceled.
Okay, I understand. Scooter, you have a question?
Yes. Let's see. Where shall we go with this?
Don't forget the Burger King question.
Oh, Burger King your face. So, something that really jumped out at me. You spoke at the 2019 Seattle Sports Marketing Conference and Career Fair, something that a lot of people wouldn't expect a wrestling promoter to be a part of, let alone an independent wrestling promoter do. How did that come about, and how did that leave you feeling? Was it positive, and did you take anything away from it going forward?
This is the first time that anybody's ever asked anything about that conference. So
that's a Scooter Dust exclusive.
I love it. So the guy who puts it together is a businessman from Tumwater / Olympia. His name is Troy Kirby. He's also part of their local chamber and local politician. So he reached out to me and he's like, hey, wrestling is now quote unquote legal in the state, because for a long time it wasn't. So why don't you come and talk about your promotion as a way of bringing it into quote unquote legitimate sports, which is funny because our license and everything is theatrical wrestling. So it's kind of at odds with each other. And I don't think I'm breaking down any walls saying, oh, it's a performance.
What?
But right. What? So I got contacted, and he's like, I've got, we have a group of 200 people that are going to come in, and they're all different types of, backgrounds and everything. So I was interviewed basically in front of a panel of probably about 25 people, which is about 10% of the overall group, which wasn't terrible. And I got a lot of good questions about what it means to be a promoter in a thing that is quote unquote fake, right? It's not like a theater show where everybody knows that they're going to go see a show, because wrestling still has the stigma of being a little bit insular and pretty the boys club in general. And it was really interesting to hear professional quote unquote people talk about the business that don't know anything about the business. So I was able to kind of steer the conversation a little bit away from the negatives and more of the positives, where the people that we bring in, or the amount of fans that see wrestling every single week or every single month in Washington State. It was really, really interesting, and it was definitely a positive experience. I'd love to talk again once in-person big things are like that again. So that would be great.
All right.
Kaliko, you have a question?
Man, great minds think alike. Cause I sure as hell. But anywho's, piggybacking on that marketing question, because the one thing that a lot of indie shows I think lack is the ability to market themselves post without a WrestleMania weekend. And I just wanted you to elaborate on the importance of marketing, because one of the things that I think about when I think of market, everybody thinks of marketing, and no one really. I don't think a lot of indie companies take it seriously. They try to do it from a local standpoint, but I think in a digital age, sometimes we kind of get lazy with it. Could you just elaborate, talk about the importance of marketing for a professional wrestling company, especially when you're trying to grow your brand outside of a local market?
Yeah. I think with companies such as like Fight TV or IWTV, and all of those like High Spots and all those streaming networks, I think it's very important to know where your eyes are being seen from, where your product is being seen from, and kind of market it around that. Locally, we are pretty known. We were on the verge of selling out 6 shows in a row with all the shows that were canceled due to COVID were guaranteed sellouts. We were already there. So locally, like, we couldn't really do too much more outside of going and having a show at a bigger space, which has been talked about and everything. But at a local level, you can't really get much bigger than what we were doing, rather than turning people away. So where does that leave us? Or where does that leave any other independent company that wants to do something outside of their local area? Well, you do podcasts. You have wrestlers that are on your shows do podcasts. You talk with local businesses just to get, local businesses in terms of just making sure that your product is being seen in front of as many people as humanly possible at all times. On the IWTV front, it's not crazy to say, hey, if you want to be bigger on IWTV, then why not book a couple of IWTV favorites like Warhorse or Lee Moriarty or Wheeler Yuta or Alley Catch or what have you, right? It's one of those things where if you want to be bigger and be better known outside of your area, you have to book talent that's not from your area, so they bring their fan bases to you, and then vice versa. We've done it multiple times where people on the East Coast didn't know who we are and all that good stuff, and then we book somebody from the East Coast and they're like, oh shit, Whack is amazing. Or Ricky Starks from now AEW. Ricky Starks posted like a year ago or so that he really enjoyed having us get him out to Washington because he'd never been out there. And then also we're pretty on the forefront of bringing out people who might not be known like on a national level, and taking a risk on people. And that's something that's kind of important to our brand, is to make sure that we're bringing diversity and different flavors of wrestling to Everett and to Washington. So,
and I think about that, just to follow through, because I always think about, like, the first thing when I think about the marketing was Bola from PWG, right? I feel like it's the most known unknown thing ever. Like, I feel like I got to join the Illuminati to get tickets. However, from a national standpoint, it's like, I feel like they could kill it with their marketing, but
they didn't want to do that. That was kind of like the antithesis of what their goals were. They wanted to keep it, close and to the vest. That's why it was at Reseda for the 100,000 years it was at Reseda, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying not to sacrifice a rib just to get there. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. I get that.
I know a lot of. I'm in California, Los Angeles. So, and I know a lot of wrestling fans. I only know one person that's actually been to those Rosita shows.
Yeah, yeah. I know two people up in the Washington area that have been to those shows, and it's because they've been going since they started. It's not because they got into it and then started going.
Yeah.
You have to be in the know and like ready to jump on tickets, and unless you don't, and if you don't know someone, you're SOL.
Yeah.
I know PWG make it sound like a kumite or something.
Did Effie buy it like a couple weeks ago?
Sorry, what?
Didn't Effie buy PWG a couple weeks ago? Or maybe that was just a joke?
I think it probably a joke.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close with Effie, at least on a promoter to talent, and we talk every so often. And I haven't heard anything. It was definitely a joke for sure.
Okay. Can you tell us how the pandemic affected you as a promoter? Have you ran shows without a crowd?
So we did run tapings. We ran 2 tapings that were a lot of like our students, because we also have a school out here, and then a couple of fly-in talents. The without a crowd shows were fun, but they weren't what we wanted to do. It was kind of like anti without a cause. It didn't have the big bright lights. It didn't have the production and of our normal shows. So we were, they were fun, but it wasn't what we wanted to do. Outside of that, really, I know that a lot of other promoters, like William from Prestige, like they lost a lot of money because they had to cancel a big show and everything. We had to cancel 3 or 4 shows, and we had to cancel a couple of flights and everything. But in reality, it probably only cost us about $1,000 in general in lost flights and lost POs and such. So it wasn't terrible. I know back in March or April, I remember because I was sitting at a table playing a board game with a couple of friends right before all of the lockdowns happened, and I get a phone call, and it's from our state saying, "Hey, it's not going away. So you're gonna have to cancel this show." And then as it happened, like we canceled March and April almost back to back. And then once we had to cancel May and June, I'm like, oh well, I guess we don't know when we're coming back at all. So now we're a year later, and we're now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Like it's definitely given us a lot of stuff to work with, and a lot of kind of like a reset button on some stuff. But we know exactly what we want to do when we come back. Our booking strategy is never been better, and I'm just excited to bring wrestling back to Everett.
That's great. And what kind of goes into the decision making of running a show without a crowd?
So we knew that we weren't going to be able to bring in fans, obviously, so we weren't going to be able to sell tickets. Initially, we were going to go off of Twitch donations and Twitch sub money. Ultimately, we just decided that money needs to go to our VFW home. Our VFW is a gorgeous building. It's now synonymous with wrestling out here. The big neon light that's on the ceiling, yes, that is in most of our photos, it's now iconic in terms of I get people talking from that have never been to a show that's like, oh, you're the guys with the really cool neon sign, right? Or the neon light. So when we, we just wanted to do something without not knowing about when we were going to come back. So we figured, let's give the money to the VFW. They're not open. They can't do too much, in terms of like booze or alcohol or food sales. So we ended up raising, altogether, we have raised about $2,100 over the last 14 months for the VFW when we've been offline. So, I mean, the decision to do a show like that is, you reach out to talent and say, hey, we're going to do this for fun. And if you would like to do it, just know that it's probably not going to be exactly what you expect. It's not a big production. Maybe if you want to take a little bit of less money, or if you want to donate that to the VFW, just let us know. Stuff like that. People got paid and all that good stuff, but the decision was we wanted to do something, and then it turned into how can we help the VFW? So
That's actually pretty great.
I would agree.
Scooter, you have a question?
Yes. Going off of that, using Twitch as a platform, I know I'm very familiar with it. I do streams with the son of former WWE superstar Rico Constantino. And he does a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, in addition to some other stuff. So you're an avid gamer as well. So what games would we find you playing on Twitch, and what games would you play off Twitch?
I mean, currently, right now, I'm a big Binding of Isaac player. It's a roguelike twin-stick shooter, about 10 years old, but they just released a big update that's fundamentally changed the game. Big Binding of Isaac player. I play a lot of indies, a lot of independent games, especially in the roguelike genre. Diablo 3 is also a staple on my channel. However, just earlier today, like right before we got on this phone call, I was telling my channel that I might actually just become a Binding of Isaac streamer, and that went over pretty well, so that might just be what I do. Offline, off Twitch, I'm unemployed right now due to the pandemic, so I've had a little bit of time to be able to kind of chill out and kind of be kind of lazy with how I want to play games. So I've been playing the new Pokemon Snap, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I just got I re-picked up the Mario and Rabbids game, the XCOM type game. So yeah. That's been fun. I played Outriders. I played through Outriders. That was an experience for sure. And right now I'm playing through Marvel's Avengers.
Oh, you're a man after my own heart, because I have that too, and I played the heck out of it, and now I'm just kind of waiting for the Black Panther DLC.
Yeah, that's I don't think they have a release date quite yet.
No, but I would recommend something that might be up your alley: Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah. Both my wife and I have completed Horizon Zero Dawn. We've had a PS, we're a Sony household anyway, so we've had we have the PS4 and now the PS5. I think she got through most of what was it? Persona? I think she just got through Persona. So
okay.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy VII Remake is something that I need to pick up too.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Pokemon Snap. I can't imagine a better segue, so I'll ask it now. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Oh, Gengar. Gengar is my favorite Pokemon, and it's definitely what I would be if I was a Pokemon. And since he's always angry and has an angry mouth, people know me for being really positive and happy. But I love being angry. The decision making I make while angry is better than when I'm happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kaliko, you have a question.
Yeah, I do. But first, I wanted to commend him for actually doing his shows at the VFW as a veteran myself, because I understand like that money actually makes a difference for veterans that are in that community. So I just want to thank you for even, doing all that you can for veterans.
No, we're happy to give back in any way we can.
All right. So my question is more of a leadership question, because as an owner of a pro wrestling company, could you elaborate on, because the one thing that we always see with WWE, not trying to compare you to it, but they try to go too mainstream, but they kind of alienate the fans that they want. And I feel like AEW is kind of like on the opposite. They give the fans what they want, but they alienate the casual people. So if you could elaborate on that balance, the balance to try to keep the fans that got you to the dance happy, but also trying to do things and explore with new ideas and booking ideas to try to generate and get people who wouldn't otherwise see it to see your product.
It's a good one. Thankfully, I think that the way that we kind of hit the ground running in our first and second and third shows kind of really set the tone of exactly what we were trying to do, and that booking strategy and that ability to bring in people that you may not know, be a little bit different than the other two shows that were very popular out here, 321 and Defy, being kind of like a kind of an alternative to that, where we focus a lot on story and in-ring talent, and also if you watch any of our like dedicated shows on, like full shows on IWTV or the ones on YouTube, there's a lot of story beats in between the matches. There's a lot of promos. There's a lot of, that kind of stuff. So thankfully, I don't feel that we have had to do something like so wildly different to get like a new subset of audience. I feel that our in-ring talent, our production, and our ability to kind of see the talent before they get big, or like be right on the heels of something big right before it explodes. I think that's kind of where we like, that's where our talent is. All three of us, myself, Chris Ross, and Dave Turner, have different backgrounds in the business. Dave's been wrestling for 10 years. He's been training now for about 2. Chris is a brain, has literally been everywhere, has helped numerous people. Him and Darby Allin were like best friends. He helped him get where he is, which is from Darby's mouth as well. And then me, being in the local area for so long and being a social media guy and being a marketing person, I think that's where my strength is. And also, being able to be kind of the cohesive glue to everything, and making sure that everything is running at the same time or fitting together and doing all the organizational things. I think that we just haven't had to change a whole lot. Now coming back, we're going to change it a little, just because I think that it's going to be better for everyone in the area as well as our fans. But it's not a fundamental booking change. It's just we're going to be doing stuff a little bit quicker than we used to. So instead of things that might be taking 2 or 3 or 4 shows, we might try to cram it into 1 or 2. But not like story beats, but like stuff that we want to get through. And so we could pivot as well, if at all needed. Because the downfall of running 1 show a month is that if you have something booked for 3 months in advance and something happens, then you've got to change it. But if you've already promoted that, then it's hard to take that misstep and be like, okay, well, we're doing something different. So
it's safe to say that COVID just kind of gave you the sense of urgency to push those ideas as fast as possible.
Yeah, and especially like the school thing has been in our brain like a physical school rather than doing seminars or trainings day of shows. We have a school now with students. Both Chris and Dave are the head trainers, and it's really cool to see people interested in wrestling again, especially at a grassroots level, and especially in a scene that hasn't been thoroughly massaged yet. Like I'd mentioned earlier, wrestling was kind of illegal out here up until like 2014, 2015. So now that shows like Defy and the defunct 321 and 5cc and all these shows are doing the best work, we're happy to be right alongside them.
Now, what is described as independent sports entertainment? I was wondering why you went with that wording rather than independent pro wrestling.
Okay, so there's a two-sided street with having a state that doesn't know what you're doing. Pro wrestling is still not very well known in terms of like what the state and the Department of Licensing like want it to be. So we actually changed our descriptor to independent sports entertainment. As kind of a funny thing, haha, WWE is sports entertainment, but we're independent sports entertainment. But it was also because the state was like, hey, you're a theatrical wrestling show. If you put pro in front of it, it shows that maybe this is an all pro thing, and that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So we changed it to kind of dig at WWE, and then also it's pretty funny just to say, hey, we're an independent sports entertainment company, which then people ask you questions about it, right? Rather than saying, oh, hey, we're a pro wrestling show. Most people know what that means. Or if you said independent wrestling, they're like, oh, maybe it's like collegiate wrestling, because I get that all the time. So they ask questions about independent sports entertainment, and it's just a good way of getting a conversation going about our product.
Well, yeah, I mean, you are on Wrestling with Entertainment. I mean,
exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, I kind of get what you mean there.
Yeah, did something right.
Scooter, you have a question.
Okay. I'm trying to think which one do I pick? Okay. There was a very interesting little bit that I noticed involving a match between Chris Bay and Jeff Cobb.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're going to ask.
When Jeff makes his entrance, he pulls you and poses with the shirt you're wearing and does the little, Shaka Bra sign. Was that improvised, or was that just spur of the moment?
Oh, not the question I was expecting. That was actually one of our ring crew, Tian.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. We actually do look a lot alike, and I was right next to him. Okay. Completely improvised. Everything that Jeff Cobb did was Jeff Cobb is one of the nicest people on the planet. And he's so good about making sure that whatever show he's on, he's promoting it in the proper way. So he was a surprise for that show. Nobody knew it was going to be him. We've done that a couple of times. We did it with Super Crazy back in April of 2019, and then in January of 2020, we did it with Jeff Cobb. Kind of like these big, huge. Oh my God! I can't believe that ECW legend Super Crazy, right? That's wild. But I've known Jeff for like 5 or 6 years, so he's always good about he cheesed the camera a lot with like taking a photo with him doing the Shaka Bra next to the WAC logo in the ring, like hugging the turnbuckle and everything. So it was all improv.
All right.
All right. Kaliko, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. Because you elaborate. I was wondering, could you elaborate how come it took the state of Washington so long to even recognize wrestling? Because it feels like a dirty dancing situation, like no dancing type of situation, and I'm like, why? Like,
So, to my knowledge, and it gets changed depending on who's telling the story and everything. Wrestling was popular in Oregon, Don Owens and everything in the 70s and 80s. It was really
Right.
popular. It didn't really hit Washington for no reason. It just, nobody really wants to come up to Seattle. It's a long flight. You're going from Eastern Washington, East Coast to West Coast, which is always kind of a problem because wrestling was always more of like a Southern and Eastern thing and not so much a West Coast thing. When you think of popular wrestling territories, it's mostly like Georgia, Florida, Texas, and the East Coast. It's very rarely, you don't hear too much about the California wrestling scene in the 80s, right? Even though there was wrestling there, but it wasn't as popular. Not at least in the plus WWF was from Connecticut. It's the reason why they call it New York.
Right.
So it's, once again, it changes on depending on who's telling the story, but it took forever to say, hey, we want to help the state with money and taxes and license fees and everything. And with that, we would like to have some sort of official board to showcase that what we're doing is all above board and legal and everything. So it took a grassroots organization called Legalize Wrestling, run by a couple of friends of mine, and they took about 2 years, and finally it was put into law that places could start selling tickets for shows as long as they had one of these theatrical school licenses, theatrical wrestling school licenses. Before then, you'd have to have a promoter's license, and promoters' licenses are very expensive. So it was just one of those things that took forever, and then once it was enacted, everybody came to the dance.
And on that board, was Kevin Bacon one of them?
No, are you? Is this a
Footloose reference?
A Footloose reference, yeah.
Gotta cut loose, Footloose. That's what it felt like. I felt like, because when you were explaining it earlier, it just felt like it was a Footloose. Like, this ain't no wrestling in this county. It felt like how Georgia have dry Sundays, and it's like,
right,
why?
Right.
Now, Chris Bay is your current champion. He's held the championship for a little over 2 years, pandemic notwithstanding. Why was he the right guy to put the title on?
So we brought in Bay the first time in April of 2019, and he was one of our top people that we wanted to work with. Chris Bay has always been one of the more charismatic people that I've ever seen in the ring. He's also incredible in the ring, talent-wise. He has a good social game. He's got a lot of eyes on him. Now he's on Impact. Helping, whether or not we helped him get the rub or vice versa, it's, anybody's game, right? But Bay came in and shocked the hell out of us, and then in the summer of 2019, we were like, okay, well, we want to do something crazy, right? Because our champion was Chase James, a local of Spokane, which is close to Idaho, and he's really popular out here, and actually running his own show out in Spokane now called Relentless Wrestling. But we were like, okay, well, let's get the title off of a local guy and get the title on to like someone who might take it somewhere, kind of like an IWTV championship kind of idea. And Chris Vey was the one who was going everywhere, and we already had a pretty good rapport with him. He wanted to get back out to Washington, so we were like, all right, come out here. Fans loved him, and then the minute that he turned heel, fans absolutely hated his guts, which is the right thing that we wanted. We went from a face champion to a heel champion, and now there's always money in the chase to the championship, right? So once we come back, we've got some cool ideas.
All right. Speedy, you have a question?
Which talent have you heard great things about through the grapevine that you haven't had the chance to bring in but would like to?
Daniel Garcia shocked the hell out of me over WrestleMania weekend this past April. Great in the ring, has a great look, fun style. Daniel Garcia is definitely up there. We had Danhausen booked for a show that was named after him. March 2020 was going to be called Without a Causehausen, and it was canceled. So I've heard nothing but good things about Danhausen. His friend Warhorse put him over pretty big as well, so that definitely helped. AC Mack, a lot of the Southern guys are getting a lot of love, and then O'Shea Edwards, who wrestles for Ring of Honor periodically. I think he's up in Baltimore right now. He's always been someone who I hear everybody talk about, and it doesn't matter where they're from. They talk about O'Shea Edwards being one of the guys to kind of hang your hat on, which is cool. So we had tentative plans to bring in all those guys, and then the pandemic happened. So now we're reaching out to people, and we've got some really cool stuff coming out, and we actually have somebody confirmed for our return date, but that will still remain a mystery for right now.
Kaliko, you have a question.
Yes. Could you talk about the struggles when you first opened the promotion? Because I think a lot of people don't really get the grind of it. And to be quite honest, it is a grind. It is like, I feel like it's a 25/8 366 job for you as being
you are correct.
As being an owner and a promoter. So I just wanted you to take a moment to just like talk about that process, and now getting to the point where you are, and especially starting from the West Coast, because I feel like West Coast wrestling, as you said, it kind of has that Pac-12 feeling. Like, yeah, it's there, but no one really pays attention to it because most of the stuff on the East Coast kind of, by the time y'all are popping, everything's like, everybody's asleep and no one really cares. So I just want you to elaborate on that grind and trying to get noticed and things of that sort.
So if you are looking to open up a wrestling company, make sure you have somebody that's in the business that's going to help you. Going in blind helps nobody, and you're going to be taken advantage of, because wrestling is still a very not even in a bad way. It's just people are trying to get the bag, right? And sometimes they don't necessarily see it as a bad thing if they take an extra $20 or $30 for a booking or for a flight or whatever. So go in with more money than you anticipated. That's like number one. Man, the grind is real. I do like 95% of all the administrative stuff, getting the licenses together, making sure that we had insurances, making sure that all of like our legal and liability things were crossed and dotted, as well as all the social media stuff. And then thankfully, both Chris and Dave are really good at booking and pulling together ideas. So a lot of the early stuff was a lot on them. I put in my 2 cents, but I didn't know what we were really doing, and in reality, you don't really know what you're doing until probably show 3 or 4. Show 4 is really kind of where it popped off. And there is nothing better than hearing like WAC like by 200 people in a building that in 2 hours isn't going to have a remnant of what was going on in it, right? It's kind of like a traveling circus, right? Which is funny because it's, wrestling was born and bred out of the carny and the carnival world.
Sure was.
So there's nothing better than like knowing what's going to happen, especially in terms of like when we had Jeff Cobb win the match but not get the title. I knew, and only like 2 or 3 other people knew how we were going to work that, because I love dusty finishes. And we actually did 2 of them on the same show. And one of our regulars, Daniel Makabe, who is a very, very good independent wrestler out of BC, Canada, he hates dusty finishes. So I kind of did that twice in one night just to irk him a little bit. But man, there's nothing better than knowing that something is happening, and then when it happens, it goes exactly how you want it to, and getting the reaction that you expected. There's nothing better. It's goosebumps every single time.
Now, what's something you look for in talent when you're booking your shows?
Making sure that you're not a shithead. Thankfully, like, we've been really lucky that we've booked a lot of people that we didn't know at the time were going to be outed as bad people. But we obviously, I come from a social media background. I've done social media for gaming companies and wrestling companies and community programs and everything. So I'm very in tune with what the social world is kind of saying and everything. So making sure that you have a good, not even a good social presence, but like a positive social experience, social presence is something that I'm very, very in tune with. Making sure that you're not, saying wild shit all the time. That's that's a negative, right? And then just making sure that people like that you're putting in the work, right? There's a lot of wrestlers, but there's not a lot of professional wrestlers, right? Professional wrestling, professional is something that a lot of people kind of lose, and we've done it. I've had flashes of being unprofessional, and it happens to the best of us. But knowing how to reflect your brand and to showcase your brand, because that's what you are as a wrestler or as a talent or any kind of talent, referee, ring announcer, etc. Making sure that your brand is palatable to everybody is something that is so paramount that a lot of people just don't either get or don't put a lot of work into.
Now, is it discouraging when another promotion like 3-2-1 Battle unfortunately folds? Is that kind of hit close to home? Being a promoter yourself?
So that one's a little hard because I know everyone there, and I know exactly what happened surrounding that all nonsense. And like, it sucks for the people that don't have a home to go to every other Friday night. The fans for sure miss it and everything.
It was a great atmosphere.
Pardon?
It was a great atmosphere.
Yeah. It was a fun DIY punk, kind of fit in Seattle perfectly, right? I had worked for 3-2-1 for 2.5 years. I loved everybody there. I left in January of 2019. because we were doing stuff with Without a Cause, and I just, I didn't have enough time to do like a full-time job and whack and 321, and then also helping out all the other shows that I was helping out at. So the 321 thing, like when it folded, you're like, okay, well, you're not gonna step into their shoes, right? Because that's not the right thing. But and ultimately, because it happened during the pandemic, I think that it's a little easier because there wasn't like a gap in shows, or there wasn't like a hole that needed to be filled. Now everybody kind of knows that, what happened, and at least is aware and okay with why everything happened the way it does. So for the fans, it definitely sucks, and for the talent that were being booked there, that don't have another show to go to, like obviously that's money out of their pocket and a chance for exposure. But it sucks, but I understand why it happened the way it happened.
All right. Scooter, you have a question?
Yes. Now, you unfortunately mentioned that you were unemployed at the current moment, but my research showed that you worked for Heinz at Amazon. And my question is, did your day job influence in any way how you ran the promotion?
Huh. I don't think so. So I worked as a community program manager out there for Amazon. I ran their dog program. So any dog that was on site at Amazon, I knew and had approved or whatever. So it was a lot of fun. I come from the corporate world. Like that's kind of where my bread and butter has been. And it's been probably a decade since I've been in like a service specific industry, whereas I've been in offices and everything ever since. But I think that's kind of where my organizational skills at least came from, and much to the chagrin of like Dave and Chris, my business partners, sometimes I'll double or triple confirm things with them to make sure that they are aware that this is what we're doing, with like if somebody's picking up somebody, or if, hey, this hotel is actually over here instead of there, or who's getting the ring. Now that's not a problem because it's at our venue, but those kinds of like administrative things I took to heart, because I didn't want to have a last minute oh shit moment where you have to like scramble to do something, or find a ride to the airport or stuff like that. So I think in terms of like an administrative sense, I think it helped. But outside of that, it allowed me to help pay for everything that we were doing. A lot of people say that you have a day job to feed your wrestling habit, and that is completely true.
Kaliko,
Alright.
you have
That is so true.
you have a colossal question.
I do. I have that question, but I have a second question. Dang it! I had a second question right there. It was on the tip of my tongue.
Well, let's go.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go.
I was going back to where you were talking about how companies folded and you feel bad. I always try to say that you can be happy for you could be in competition with people, but also be happy that people made it. And I just wanted you to elaborate on the adulation when you see these guys that you work with finally make it to the big stage. I would assume that it makes you feel like a proud papa, that like, oh my God, this guy was here and now he's doing better things. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, I actually just like on Twitter, I was talking or retweeted something that was like, no, like it doesn't hurt you to see somebody else succeed, right? Which is 100% true. Like, we're in competition, right? But wrestling is a niche product and already has like a niche fan base. So the more wrestling in an area, as long as they're doing everything by the book and legal and everything and not being, problematic, like then it's a positive. As long as they're not, running the day of our show in our city or something, that's something completely different. But when I see Alex Zane, who is now Ari Sterling in WWE, I've known Alex now for like four-ish years, which is a pittance to what some of these guys have known each other for, and knowing how hard he worked and how good he was for such a long time, and seeing how polished he is on WWE, that's something that's really cool. Same thing with Shotzi Blackheart. Shotzi went in, they didn't change her name. She's the same person, basically, that she was when we booked her. DJ Z or Joaquin Wilde, we had him on for 3 or 4 shows in a row, and we were one of his last independent shots, and he loved working with us and everything. So it's just really cool to see everybody do the really, really big things. And I think that the biggest one that comes to mind is Aubrey Edwards, the one of the main refs for AEW. Aubrey was in the WAC office. She helped make a lot of the formative decisions for Without a Cause. So it's really cool to see her be in such a position that she she can do so in another big company.
I'm glad you actually said that, because I feel like it's kind of like this internal civil war in wrestling, and it's just like, and some of the people who are at the top of that food chain, they don't make things better by feeding into it. So for someone to say, hey, we can all get along is pretty refreshing.
Can I interject for like 2 seconds?
Sure.
It's fake. It's all fake. Nobody gives a shit. Just be a good person and good things will happen in the business. You can't put people down. You can't bully people. You can't do all this and then expect that people talk. Bad gas travels fast in a small town, right? So wrestling is a small town. So if you are a bad person, it's gonna get around, and ultimately you're gonna get you're gonna get blackballed. I stay out of the drama. That's one thing that Without a Cause has always tried to do. We stay out of the drama. We don't want any part of it. And it's actually one of our things where if we know that somebody has a pennant to being dramatic, we don't deal with them. It's not a personal thing. It's just I don't want to deal with a text at 2 a.m. asking why we booked them instead of somebody else. We don't want any part of it. And I think that's the one thing that I wish that a lot of other people would understand, is that if it's not hurting you or your company, then it doesn't matter. That's why things like the IWTV Showcase or the Collective or whatever, all of those weekends, it happens because people are happy to work all together. So a rising tide raises all ships.
Who text messaged you at 2 a.m. in the morning?
Oh, there's people, I'm sure.
Quick question. How many times have people snickered and tittered every time you said, all right, go to the WAC office?
We've always wanted to call a show like Whack at Night, but it's just on the edge of like, we don't want to be known as like the pervy company. So but it's been a joke for as long as Whack has been a thing, and everybody comments on it.
Why haven't you partnered up with Wickedy?
Wickedy whack.
Jump.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Chris Cross.
And here we thought Kaliko and I were the old ones.
So, what's the best part of running your own company?
Oh Lord. the best part is knowing that something that you had most of the, up until like a couple of months ago, everybody knew that I was like the owner of Without a Cause. However, we're changing to us all having like an ownership portion, like in a legal sense. I was the only person doing the taxes. I was the only one doing, the administrative, which will probably be still the same. But knowing that, at least from an administrative standpoint and from a financial standpoint, we were able to do the things that we did because of me, a large portion due to me, is positive. And knowing that we've had, God, in general, we've probably sold 45 to 5,500 tickets to shows that we've had. Like, that's just so cool to me. And knowing that, our shows are on like illegal streaming networks and BitTorrent and on torrents and everything, like knowing that kind of thing, that people like want to see our shows and would, skimp on the $3 it is to sign up for IWTV or whatever, like that, like the money doesn't really matter, right? It was only going to be like what 10 or 15 cents, which is great. But from a, I'd rather 100 people see our show for free than 2 people pay for it, right?
Wow. And now the 4,500 tickets, is that heads or feet?
It's probably closer to feet than it is heads, but I've lost count on the the official number. If we could take into consideration March, April, May, and June tickets, it would have been about 4,800 heads.
Ah. Now, on the opposite end of that spectrum, what's the worst part of running your own company?
Knowing that if it fails, it's because of you. It's all on your shoulders, right? We had a really not a bad show, but we ran 2 days after Thanksgiving in 2018, which was our second show, and we weren't known yet. Like, our first show was great, and a lot of people were interested in coming back and doing the show, but it was so close after the holiday that we were like, we wanted to run a show, but we didn't want to run in December, so we just ran it at the end of November, and the show was amazing, right? But the fans didn't turn out, which is partially due to fatigue over the holidays,
right,
and financial obligations during that time, and all that good stuff. But also we didn't know we were doing that early in the game. So now if we were going to run a show so early after a big holiday, we would do like a holiday sale for tickets or whatever. So it's those things that you pick up along the way, but at the beginning you're not going to know. So I think the hardest part is learning, but that's also part of the best part is knowing, hey, in like 8 months this shit's going to be incredible, but it's just going to suck until then.
Scooter, you have a question.
Okay. Are you still rocking that awesome beard?
Oh yeah, it doesn't go away. I haven't been clean shaven in probably 10 years.
Yeah. Join
Plus
the club.
Plus it hides my double chin. So
I'm so jealous of y'all. I can't even get my shit to grow like that for nothing, man. My shit be spotty like a cheetah back. Like, come on.
No.
Yeah, I got angel wings on my back in the form of hair, but if I were ever to return to the ring, I would seriously consider pursuing being the reincarnation of Brody Lee, because that's who people tell me I look like with this beard. So
that was kind of my character. I was Baruda the Polish wild man. and I was
The
I,
Polish one.
I would flare my beard out a whole bunch, like I would just like kind of pull it out and everything. And I had a singlet with some fur on it, and I wrestled barefoot. And yeah, that I was crazy. I didn't talk and all that good stuff. So it was like a mix of like
Missing Link
uh,
and
yeah, Missing Link and Taz, because I threw great suplexes. So
All right. And I actually seen you in that ring attire. So.
yeah. There's a couple of photos and a couple of videos. It
It's
only
out
showed
there.
up once or twice. So
Now, Kaliko, you have a colossal question?
Yeah, I do. Just let me say, if you ain't getting bootleg, that means you ain't made it. So trust me, you done made it. If people bootlegging your shit, you done made it. So considering your career was short-lived and now you are an owner and you've had your ups and downs, this has to be like a movie of some sorts. But if with those movies it comes soundtracks. So based on your career as a wrestler / owner, what 3 songs best fit the soundtrack to your career?
oh Jesus, what a wild question. All right. Oh man, that's a wild question.
It's
I
the
think
question that broke
I
Mike Law.
I think for sure one of them would be "Hot and Cold" by by Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
I just feel that there's been a lot of like ups and downs, ins and outs.
Up and down,
Wrongs and
wrongs and
rights.
rights, black and whites. I got you.
DMSing like a bitch.
And then I want to say like "Crazy Train" by Black Sabbath.
All right, that's a good one.
I think it's, man, this wrestling is unlike anything in the world. It's the hardest and worst thing I've ever done, but it's also the best and most fulfilling. There's been a lot of, I lost a lot of friends through it. When I became a promoter, I lost a lot of people that I thought were friends that just wanted to get booked, which is frustrating. So yeah, Crazy Train is definitely a good kind of analogy. And then what's a good song about like building or creation?
Bob the Builder thing?
Can we build it, Bob?
No,
we can't.
No, wait, no, it can't be.
No, started from the bottom, Drake. How about that?
Yeah, like
Yes,
yeah.
we can.
Yeah, just like yeah. I think that's a great one as well. Like we really started this for, it was supposed to be one show. It wasn't supposed to go on for the 3 years that we're approaching. It was supposed to be one show. And then I figured, hey, I spent the money on the license. Let's get the use out of it at least. And now we're here through the pandemic and through everything, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for what's to come. It sucked during the last 6 or 8 months, seeing all of the shows in other states that are, the GCW's doing well, ICW's doing great. I'm a big deathmatch guy, so I love all the ICW stuff. So just seeing all these shows, like, and friends and colleagues and everything doing what they do best. The folks down in Action, and then New Texas Pro or FSW or whatnot. Like seeing all of these things go off without a hitch and all that good stuff. Like it's got us raring to go. And now that we think that we're good to go, like we're not gonna pass up the second chance to make our first impression, right? So I think that building from the bottom, and now we're here. I think that's probably the best one for sure.
See, now you got me thinking. Katy Perry, Trainwreck, and Drake. I'm gonna create a Spotify playlist from everybody's theme songs music, and I'm just gonna post that thing.
You said Crazy Train, not Trainwreck.
No, not Train. Say Crazy Train. Sorry, Crazy Train, Katy Perry, Drake. There we go. I'm gonna do a Spotify playlist.
Also, it does not reflect my actual music preferences. I am much more of a metalhead, so Katy Perry and Drake are not in my purview.
Who is it?
I mean, Drake, I could see. He kind of got poppy. Katy Perry, whatever.
She had one good album. Let's face it.
I feel like everybody's got one good song that you can relate to, regardless of genre, right? Like, so
yeah, Kiki, do you love me?
See?
I like that one a lot.
Don't you ever kind of leave me beside me? Yeah,
I just
probably
like
because you saw people hopping out cars and getting hit.
I just like the dance, right? Because I can't dance anymore because my knee.
So dance like a drunk uncle.
Yeah, right. Drunk.
Just make sure you don't hop out the passenger car in the middle of the parking lot, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, no joke.
What you gonna do? Go ride the whip.
All right. Next question, and there's no real good segue for this. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
Oh, I'm an ardent hater of pineapple on pizza. It's actually one of the things I'm kind of known for. Since having kind of a larger social media presence, a friend of ours actually created a logo that was a pineapple pizza and it said whack, and they were like, hey, you should use this. And I said, absolutely not. Since I'm so outspoken on it. And I know that it's a joke to be like, I don't take it seriously. I don't actually care. I don't think it belongs on pizza. I just don't. I would never buy it. But like the idea that like I would hate somebody because they like pineapple on pizza, like that goes a little too far. That is for people who like kiwis on pizza, and those people are abominations.
Ooh.
Oh wow. Kiwi on pizza. Never heard that before.
Yeah, it's gross. It's real bad. But probably like once a week, I'll get somebody on my Facebook who sends me a funny picture of like it's a pizza in the shape of a pineapple, or they made a pineapple pizza where it was like the pineapple itself was the crust. So it's an ongoing thing.
So people are basically trolling you because you hate pineapple on pizza.
Oh yeah, that's ultimate dedication to piss you off. I swear to God, that's.
Well, I'm also like a big pun and like dad joke kind of guy. So it just all kind of cycles all together.
No.
Oh, now we got to hear the good puns. Your best pun and your best dad joke. Let's get it.
Oh man, so the one that I used today, I try to use them when I'm going live on Twitch because they're funny and all that good stuff. But like man, I looked inside of my fridge today and my milk was trying to sell me like a $70 HDMI cord, and apparently it had a Best Buy date.
You guys thought my dad jokes were bad.
Oh, hold on. I got one. What do you call a chicken on the basketball court that cusses and pushes everybody?
What?
A flagrant foul.
Oh.
Damn it. That was good. That's good.
Now, probably the weirdest question you'll ever be asked on any podcast. Would you ever consider booking a rock for one of your shows? Not Dwayne Johnson.
Not the country.
An actual rock.
I would use it in a match. So yes, absolutely.
Just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual rock for over 15 minutes, which was billed as a the Tungsten Man match, an Iron Man match that lasted 2 weeks.
I love it. I love the weird wrestling matches like Kenny Omega and the Doll, or Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. Shout out to Bryce Rensburg, by the way. Legitimately one of the best referees ever to put on the striped shirt. Yeah, all of those things. I love all of those types of matches. We have a couple of them that we want to do, but we're trying to make sure that it would go over live. It's more of like a cinematic idea, but live it would be difficult to do.
Interesting. And you've had some creative names for your shows, including E for Everyone, New Year Who Dis, With Love, Whack, XOXO, Year One. Can you tell us how you came up with those names and what's behind them?
Most of them are puns or play on words, and that's 95% me. Being the joke guy. A lot of fans actually wait to hear what our names are going to be. That started after New Year Who Dis. We had like we had like First Day of Springboard, which is so stupid that I love it. Obviously we have a couple of others that are like specific to like the match type or the anniversary. So we'll do like year 1, year 2, year 3. We'll skip year 2 because obviously. And then Fool's Gold is a match type. So Fool's Gold is kind of like our WrestleMania kind of show. That's what our hope is going to be anyway. But like 5 Moves of June is a 5 Moves of Doom reference.
Yes.
Or Rated E for Everyone. We had TJP and Facade on the show.
The video game reference.
Video game reference. So yeah, or in like November of 2019, we had 3 characters that were known as dads. So it was called Daddy's Home.
Oh, God.
So yeah, so it's 95% me coming to the team and saying, hey, we're going to name the shows this because it's going to be funny, and our graphics guy is going to have a lot of fun making up the posters.
I think the only one you missed was That's What I Call Music.
Yeah. So it was originally going to be called Now That's What I Call Whack. But our graphics guy didn't get the second text, so he's like, I got it, don't worry about it. And so it was not unfortunately, it was a great show. And the poster idea was pretty sick. But so actually one thing about our show names is that we'd had the show name No Handshakes long before COVID. Long before COVID. One of my business partners hates the idea that like you have to go into a show and shake everybody's hand, like that's the old school like wrestling carny thing. He hates it so much. So I'm like, oh, well, why not just call a show No Handshakes? So I think we're still gonna try and do that one since we didn't end up using it. But No Handshakes was ours for like a year and a half longer than COVID.
I like that play off the Waka Flocka song, No Hands. That's like so.
Didn't even know it, and I had no idea. Not a rap guy.
Like Whack-A-Mole or New Whack City.
New Whack City. Oh, man.
Everybody already knows that our first show back is going to be called Whack Streets Back. Everybody knows it. And nice. I think our second show is going to be called Return of the Whack.
Yes.
But like I'm also the guy who does all of the music and everything during the shows. So sometimes like our house music is all like 90s hip hop and boy band stuff because it's fun for me. Because that's the kind of shit that I grew up on. So like we routinely play like Backstreet's Back or Tearing Up My Heart or In Sync music just because it's fun. And then we always end the show with Semisonic's Closing Time to get the people out of the fucking building.
Oh, I love that. I love that song. Semisonic's Closing Time. See?
Scooter, you have one last question.
I actually think I've gone through everything I have.
I need to follow him. I need to follow him just so we could keep these puns going.
Oh, dude,
oh
the
my
puns
God.
go. Oh man, it's probably daily at this point.
Oh,
Kaliko, you have one last question.
about to follow him right now. I don't know. I'm all whacked out.
Yo.
All right, then it's once again time for that segment.
I think I just had a accident.
Matt Zaleski's Bizarre Adventure. You're a promoter, and you go up and down the road, so weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you maybe tell us a story that fits that description?
Like a road story?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Let's see if I can remember one that I can tell on a podcast without getting anybody in trouble. Yeah. Okay. So I don't have a driver's license. I've always lived by the buses, and Seattle has a pretty good bus system.
Good man.
So I never needed it, right? For graduation, I had a choice between a car or a laptop, and I'm like, I want a laptop because I was gonna get into World of Warcraft. So through that, whenever I would travel down to shows, I would just like pay my way in like gas money or snacks or whatever. So I was going down to Prestige Wrestling to announce for them, and it was me and Chris Ross, my business partner. We were going down and hanging out. It was 2 weeks before our debut show, so I was all over the place. I was crazy. I was wild, right? After the show, my one of our other friends, Chase James, our first champion, was like, "Hey, I'm going to Everett anyway for some reason. So let's go ahead and I'll just drive you back." He wanted to drive back the same night. He didn't know that I didn't have a license. So we're like probably 30 or 45 miles away from our house, and it's probably 3:30, 4 in the morning, and nobody slept, right? So he's like, "Hey, can you take over?" And I tell him I don't have a license and I don't know how to drive, and I'm also tired, right? And so he dead ass looks at me. He's like, "I'm never driving with you again," because he's like, in his brain, that was like the last thing he ever wanted to do was like ask somebody else to drive. And because he had gotten over that hump of, oh, I need to swap out, like I couldn't. So he's like, "Okay, we're gonna go ahead and just park on the side of the road and take like a 30-minute nap." I'm like, "We are 30 miles away, my guy, and then you can sleep for like 12 hours." So it's I think I definitely think that's one of my favorite stories, is just knowing how tired or how late people are staying up. I got stuck in Tacoma for like 2 hours after a Defy show once because Tacoma, Washington has terrible construction. So it was me and my friend Keenan, and we got stuck in Tacoma because all the construction and everything. We couldn't get out of downtown Tacoma, and all Google Maps didn't help. There was no cops around or nobody to ask for directions. So from like 11:30 until like 1, we were just in downtown Tacoma trying to find our way out.
All right. And on a more serious note, what do you see yourself in WAC in 5 years?
So if you asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said traveling, touring, doing a touring show. I don't know if that's actually something I want to do anymore. I don't like traveling at all. Like I hate taking a vacation. I'd rather just be home. And that gets a lot of like, oh, how are you going to be a wrestler? I know I would have been a terrible wrestler because I hate being away from my home. But now I think that with the inclusion of probably being on, Showcase of the Independents next year for IWTV, getting our name out in Texas, like doing those kinds of things would be a lot of fun. Maybe having some sort of like territorial title would be fun, like having like a BC, Washington, Idaho, Oregon, Northern California title be the Cascadian title. That'd be a lot of fun. Building the area, that's what we want to do. That's our number one thing. So making sure that our school is being, there's a reason why people talk about the Monster Factory, or they talk about Santino Bros, or they talk about, all the great schools out in the East Coast. We want to be that. So that's going to take some time, right? You're not going to get that rub immediately. So knowing that that's well underway, I think that's important for all of us at WAC, and just continuing to be the change in the wrestling business we want to see.
And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what WAC is all about?
Oh, so the one that gets talked about the most in comments or in person, or the fans always go back and watch, is Hammerstone versus Chris Bay at Year One. It was for the title. Hammerstone and Chris Bay had worked like 5 or 6 times before, both being from the Vegas area. Had crossed multiple times at FSW, but this match was so good that it keeps on, it probably every other month or so it gets brought up in my mentions, Wax mentions, Chris Bay's mentions, Hammerstone's mentions. It's all over the place, and it's also one of the matches that has been cut out of other shows and like uploaded itself as like a match on the torrent sites. So that's the only match that I see having seen that. So it's pretty interesting.
All right, and you know what? We'll even put that in if it's on YouTube, I believe it is.
It is on YouTube, yep.
Yeah, we'll put that in the description of the video below, so you can watch it after you listen to this.
Hell yeah.
And since we're nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom. This is our bonus round, our speed round, the round where we see who you really are, Max. Are you ready?
Hell yeah, I'm ready.
Greatest wrestler of all time.
Mankind.
Worst wrestler of all time.
Ooh. Giant Gonzalez.
Alright. You're booking the main event for WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who are the 2 combatants?
Current, alive or dead, or
anything you want to do.
Shawn Michaels and Daniel Bryan in their primes.
Interesting. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Biker Taker.
Which one? There's a couple.
Rollin'. I'm a big Limp Bizkit fan.
Okay. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
dead and buried.
Squash, fruit or vegetable?
Fruit.
That is correct.
I'm glad I'm right.
Kaliko? I think we may have lost Kaliko. Kaliko will usually say that it's actually a vegetable.
But it's not.
It is indeed a fruit.
Let's go.
Yeah.
New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Half and half.
Half an ass.
Half and half. There you go.
All right, so you heard it here. Always half-ass it.
Always half-ass it. Yep. Especially if you're a wrestling promoter.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Yes, actually.
Oh, yes! Oh my god. This is the second time we need to hear this.
Okay, so I was wearing my business partner Chris was wearing a Darby Allin shirt, and we were walking by, and one of the Darby Allin shirts was kind of wild and crazy, so somebody had asked what that was, and Chris had already passed, and he doesn't really like talking to people, so I was talking to the person about wrestling, and hey, you should come to our show and everything, and then they drop the ever so present, oh, isn't that fake? And then I asked them, because they were wearing a Game of Thrones t-shirt, I'm like, isn't Game of Thrones fake? And then they walked away.
Interesting.
Mother of Dragons, my ass.
What a mark!
And of course, that is the correct answer. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us, Max.
I mean, these were really wacky tales.
Whoa, this is crazy.
Once again, could you tell us where we can find you on social media, merchandise, everything that we need to know?
Yo, absolutely. So my name is Max Wrestling WA, and that WA stands for Washington, as I am an independent wrestling promoter, person, professional out here in the beautiful, gorgeous, and sometimes rainy Pacific Northwest, Everett, Washington to be exact. You can find me everywhere at Max Wrestling WA. That's Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. You should also follow my independent wrestling promotion, Independent Sports Entertainment, I may say, Without a Cause WA on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can catch all of our shows on IWTV and or YouTube. Just search Without a Cause Wrestling. It shows up, all that good stuff. If you watch our first show, which is A Seat at the Table, make sure that you don't listen with the sound, because A, my commentary is really bad, and also the audio file was corrupted, so it sounds like garbage. But it's really fun. It had Priscilla Kelly and Thunder Rosa in one of the main events. So go and watch that before they both exploded.
And of course, if you like what we're doing here on Wrestling with Entertainment, join us this Saturday for our preview and review. So next week we have on our Wednesday interview show Tyler Klein. And the week after that, Klutz Jesse V. And of course, this episode was sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code Wrestling with E for 10% off your next purchase. And you can follow the show both on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling with E. And you can follow us individually as well. I'm at JamesJ993. Where can they find Kaliko?
I am Kaliko. I got so many whacks. Whack on, whack off. Whack a man can't jump.
What?
What's whack got to do with it?
What's whack got to do with it? That's been on our list.
Okay, Whack Nicholson.
Big wacky cane. There you go.
And where can they find Scooter?
As always, they can find me behind you with a knife. No, you can find me on Twitter at ScooterDust and holding it down for the UNB network at UNBS Wrestling. And of course, join me and Rico Constantino Jr., the Smoking Dragons, on Twitch all throughout May, playing live for St. Jude, streaming, raising money. Enter. Every $10 you donate gets you an entry into a raffle for prizes we give away at the end of every stream. Twitch.tv/Smoking Dragons.
And of course, the remix is coming up for In Your House.
Yes, remix, June 12th. James and I provide the only, still to this day, live streaming alternate commentary podcast on the web. Still the same as it was 6 years ago, except for the person who does it with me. The remix. It's the unicorn of podcasts.
For our very special guest, Max Zaleski, Coleco Yachts, Scooter Dust, I'm James Shea, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
That's whack.
Hey folks, this is the colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.